Hi guys, I wanted to do a review and a comparison of two similar products. Both are storage for cans. They're can rotating devices for used in food storage. Allow you to rotate through your food storage without having to manually move all the cans around on the shelf. So it makes it easier to not only rotate through and keep the dates in order, but reduce clutter and just make your pantries and everything, your food storage, look nicer. I got two products here. First one is a Cansolidator Pantry Plus from the Shelf Reliance company, and the other one, the competitor, is the Fifo Can Tracker. So I'm going to show you both of these in action, and I go over the pros and cons of each one. Alright, so here you got both of them in action. This one on the top is the Fifo brand, and the rest of these are the Cansolidator versions. Let's start on the top. The one thing I like about these is that they're a little bit more dense storage than the Shelf Reliance brand. As you can see, there's a little bit more cans stored in about the same amount of space. These have a little bit, they also tend to fit on this shelf that I have. It seems a little better. But that's just a shelf that I have. Obviously, you could put them on anything. But you can see the density of storage is a little greater. You have a little bit more cans in the same amount of space. Another good thing about the Fifo brand is that it's pre-set up. So that all you have to do is stick these spacers in. You have two spacers, this one and a smaller one that would allow you to have, like mushroom cans or something like that. So that's good. It's easier to, you don't have to, there's little to no thought involved in putting it together. And you get to decide how many of them you can attach. You can go on endlessly. This is one unit right here, and then you can stack as many of those on as you want just by attaching the spacers. And you could go on indefinitely, and you can stack them as well. So you can see the tops are flat, and you can stack up to, I think they say it should only stack two just because of the weight, but obviously horizontally you can go as long as you wanted to based on how the shelf was. So it's pretty easy to put together. That's a good thing. All I need was pliers. Made it a little easier because you have to pivot these connectors to get them to lock into place. You can do it by hand. It's just a little uncomfortable and hard to reach your hand in there. So you get a pair of pliers. That makes that pretty easy. It's really all you need. So it's pretty simple construction. It's a little bit cheaper than the Shelf Reliance versions. It's a little bit more dense storage. So those are the things I like about it. The one thing that I don't like about it, and is pretty much a deal breaker for me, seems like a pretty serious design flaw. I mean, for the whole purpose that I got these can rotators is to have a really easy way of making sure that the one I take out is the oldest, and then it'll rotate automatically by date, so I don't have to worry about making sure I have the oldest one and use it first. As you can see, I used to have a system where I just wrote the date that I bought it on there, and then I had these shelves loaded up with cans. Tried to keep them in order, but that was a real pain, and you always had to come in here and search around to try and find the oldest one, so it's kind of a pain in the ass. And so now with these, this is what I really wanted as an ability, to take out the oldest one, and the next one rolls into place. But as you can see with these Fifo version, they have 3 shelves, and the way it's designed, when you take one out of the bottom here, it comes from back here, but this top row completely depletes, has to come down to here before the middle row will start to be cycled out. So obviously this can here in the middle would be the last one to be pulled out of this shelf. Which, okay, whatever, you make sure that's the oldest one. I'm sorry, the newest one, so it comes out last. The problem is, when you take one out of here, and I can just show you guys, see how it rotates like that. Now, if I go to replace it, where do I put the newest one? I can't put it in here, where it's the last to come out, because that it didn't move yet. It has to, this top row has to be completely gone before those will start to move. So if you like to replace on a 1-by-1 basis like I do, you can't do it, because if I put the next one here, then and you continue to use it, this middle row will never get used. So I don't know. That seemed like a pretty serious design flaw to me. It's pretty much a deal breaker, because I don't want to have to take this out every time and put it up here. And I don't want to have to not use this middle row until it gets down to here. I want to maintain the same amount of storage. So simply because of that, I'm probably going to stick with the Cansolidator versions from now on. But it's kind of a shame, because I like that it's a little more dense storage. But if that's not a big deal to you, to have to pull this out, put in there, and then put your newest one in here, then I wouldn't worry about it too much, because other than that, they're pretty good. It is a few bucks cheap. Now, here's the Cansolidator version. The good thing I like about these, there's a couple pros as well. Obviously a con is that it's slightly more expensive. The good thing is it's almost infinitely customizable in terms of size. If you see these little holes down there, those are all notches that the actual racks here can be plugged into. So you can move them over in increments of, a half an inch. So you can go anywhere from, we got a can here of chicken, which is wide, to a tuna can here, all the way up to a big bean can there, and anything in between as well. You got various sizes of all sorts of stuff, and so you can move it along in quarter inch, half inch, whatever that is, about half inch increments to fit your can size. So it's almost infinitely customizable as long as the can isn't much bigger diameter than a chicken can like this, because it has to be able to fit down this rack here. But as long as the diameter isn't big, the length you can customize infinitely. And so, just like with the other Fifo brand up here, you could make this as long as you wanted just by continuing to snap together these pieces, and then you can stack up to 2 high. So that they're equal in that aspect. The Cansolidator version takes a little bit more time to put together. It's not necessarily harder. It just takes more time because there are so many different ways to plug it in there. You have to match it up. The good thing is they did number the slots here. So if you plug it in on one side, you can match it on the other side to this corresponding spot to make sure that they're not crooked or something. So it takes a little bit longer, but you do have edge and customizability for can size, so that's a good thing. They don't tend to fit quite as well on the shelves that I have here, but that's just because of the shelves. It doesn't matter. Obviously, you see this here, you get a little bit of space on them, but that's fine too. It gives you space to. And they're not quite as clean looking when finished. As you can see, the end tends to stick out a little bit on some ends. Just because, especially if you have different size shelves, and this one on the bottom here, it tends to stick out on the end because I wanted to squeeze in that extra one, so I had to, for these tuna cans, so I had to add an extra rack on the bottom, so it makes it stick out a little bit on the ends there. So it doesn't have quite the polished look to it, but what you give up on that, you make up for in the customizability. Again, it's not quite as dense on the storage. As you can see, it just has one rack that comes down. I didn't mention this one up here holds about 14 cans, maybe 15 if you really pushed it in. These hold 10 in normal cans. If it's a really fat diameter can like this, it's not going to hold as many. But a normal vegetable can, like this potatoes or this chili, it's going to hold 10 cans. So it's still pretty decent. But you can obviously tell that this would hold quite a bit more in the same horizontal and vertical space. But you have the natural cycle of, the oldest one comes out and the newest one comes in. The order's proper. So that's a big deal to me. That's the main reason I wanted to get the shelves like this. So I'm willing to sacrifice a little bit of the space and not have to go through that, because that's sort of a deal breaker for me. But they're both good products, so it depends on what you are worried about most. And eventually there are some other brands, little cardboard ones that you can that are much smaller. They're about 1 rack each. Because these are still relatively expensive. That's the one downside to these. From what they're made out of, I don't see any reason why they need to be as expensive as they are. They're just solid pieces of plastic. If this same things were being sold at Walmart, they would be about 20 bucks. Instead, they're closer to 40 bucks. The Fifo brand, I believe, is just 3 or 4 bucks cheaper when I got it, so not a big deal. But it is a little bit cheaper. So I hope that was helpful to you guys. I recommend both products, no matter what. If you're storing cans, you want to get one or the other. Doesn't really matter which one you want. I mean, you can use this video as a guide to help you decide based on what features you really find important. Whether it's the polished look, the ease of setup, and the capacity, or the customizability, and the proper rotation of the Cansolidators. So I hope that's helpful, guys, and I will talk to you later.